All right, lesson 4-6, the quadratic formula and the discriminant. So by the time we are done with this lesson, we should be able to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula and use the discriminant to determine the number and type of roots, so the answers of our quadratic equations. Okay. So to start with, we are going to derive the quadratic formula by completing the square on our general equation. Now remember, to complete the square, the number in front of the square term has to be 1. So if it's not, then we start by dividing both sides by whatever that is. So in our case, since a is a number, we're going to divide both sides by a. So now we have x squared plus b divided by a times x plus c divided by a, and then 0 divided by a is still going to be 0. Now c over a again is just a number, so I'm going to move it over to the other side, and then I'm going to leave room to complete the square. So we have x squared plus b divided by a, x, plus, leave room to complete the square, equals negative c over a, and then plus our completed the square on this side. So again, it's our middle term divided by 2 squared. So that means that we would have b divided by a divided by 2. So before I continue, I'm actually going to simplify what's inside here. So if I have b divided by a divided by 2, we're going to keep change flip. So we keep the top, so b divided by a, switch to multiplication, and then we flip the 2 to be 1/2. And then we multiply straight across. So this is b divided by 2 times a. So that's going to go, I'm going to write that on this side. So b divided by 2 times a squared. All right, so now we're going to factor. So continue simplifying and factor. So again, using our shortcut, we know that this side will factor into x plus b divided by 2 times a, quantity squared, equals negative c over a plus b squared, and then when I take 2a squared, so if I have 2a squared, that really means to take 2a times 2a, so that will be 4a squared, so that's what's going to be in the denominator, so 4a squared. And then now we are going to combine like terms. So to do that, that means for this fraction, I'm missing a 4 and a second a. So I am going to take negative c over a times 4a. So that will give me negative 4a times c, so I'm just going to put it in alphabetical order, over 4a squared. So now I have x plus b divided by 2 times a squared equals negative 4ac over 4a squared plus b squared over 4 times a squared. So I'm just going to write that as one fraction since my denominators are the same. So we can't combine, so I'm just going to write it out horizontally, and I'm going to put the b squared term first because it's positive. So now we have x plus b divided by 2 times a squared equals b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. So now we can take the square root of each side. So again, this part will just cancel. So we have x plus b over 2a equals, and then we take the square root of the top part of our fraction and then the square root of the bottom part of the fraction. So in the top, I'm going to have plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and then divided by, so now the square root of 4 is 2, so that comes out of the radical. The square root of a squared is a. Okay, so I don't have a radical in the bottom anymore. And then to get x by itself, we subtract this first term over. So we have x equals negative b divided by 2a plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. And then because we have the same denominator, that means that we can combine it into one fraction. Okay? So we have x equals negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So that is our quadratic formula. So this is what we are going to use from here on out to help us solve our equations. So our quadratic formula. So again, this method, just like completing the square, works for solving any quadratic equation that we want. And it will give you an exact answer instead of a decimal.